Do you really think that you should enter the garden of bliss without such trials as faced by those that came before you? Because the fact is that we will all face trials and tribulations on our path. We will all face obstacles that will force us to level up and develop our character towards becoming more capable versions of ourselves. Okay, there's no denying that. But the beauty of the human experience is the invention of language. Language has allowed us to communicate ideas to each other. All the great spiritual teachers, all the men of greatest accomplishment, of highest achievement, are able to share the greatest lessons with us, the most profound wisdom with us, and all that's left for us to do is to glean from their knowledge, to learn from their mistakes, and improve our own lives as a result of that. Okay, Socrates said that you should employ your time by improving yourself with other men's writing so that you can gain easily what others have labored hard for. Okay, I sincerely believe that developing a reading habit will be the one thing that will completely change your life in 2020. Okay, leaders are readers. The average CEO reads more than 60 books per month, or year rather. Okay, how many books did you read last year? I'm at the point where I've read hundreds of books in my life, and it's really hard for me to put together this list of 7 books, but these are the 7 books which I come back to again and again and again. And if you have not yet developed a reading habit, or maybe if you are already on the process of reading more books, of expanding your awareness and consciousness, then this list will help you avoid that horn and get to the root of what you can do to show up as the most powerful version of yourself. Okay, now the first book that I recommend to every man, to every human, is titled Solve for Happy. It's by a man named Gawdat, who was chief marketing officer of Google X, and he ended up going through a very traumatic situation whereby he lost his son, and he actually came up with this equation of happiness, which is basically happiness is greater than or equal to reality minus expectations. Okay, the only place where suffering can exist is when our perception of reality is not in alignment with our expectation of how we think reality should be. And he comes up with a bunch of grand illusions, with a bunch of mental and cognitive biases that make us see these illusions, how we can overcome them. Then he gets to the root, to the essence of what the ultimate truths in this universe are. Okay, I've made entire separate videos on each of these sections for this book, but I definitely recommend you check it out. I recommended it to my sister. She's been listening to the audio a lot. I haven't downloaded the audio, but I intend on downloading it, and she says that it's completely changed every aspect of her life, allowed her to see herself in a different light, and really expanded her awareness on what it means to be alive. Okay, so definitely check out this book. It's the #1 book that I've read in my life because it encapsulates everything from quantum physics to religion to illusion to truth to mental and cognitive models that hold us back to empowering models. Like, I read this book and I was walking around just looking at trees, feeling like I was at one with everything. I had this moment of enlightenment, I can tell you. Okay, I was just so at peace, I was so tranquil, and this was like the 4 or 5 days that led up to after reading this book, and it really set my path on a very different course after it. Okay, so definitely check out this book. Now, the second book that I recommend for every man and every human really is titled Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. You've probably heard about this book a lot. It's been quoted by Tony Robbins as being one of the best books in his life, and a lot of high achievers quote this as the best book, or amongst the best books that they've ever read, or the most influential books that they have ever read in their lives. Okay, so the gist of it is that Viktor Frankl is a psychotherapist. He finds himself in a concentration camp. He goes through 5 different concentration camps and really sees the worst of human conditions, and his big conclusion really is that everything can be taken away from us, anything can be taken away from us from forces beyond our power of control, but the one thing that is within our freedom is the freedom to choose our attitude in a given situation, to choose how we will respond to the situation that we are facing. Okay, now Viktor Frankl came up with an entire model called logotherapy, and the gist of it is basically that we go about our lives thinking that what is the meaning of life, what is the purpose of life, and asking all of these questions. But Frankl tells us that it is really us who are being asked these questions by life, and the way that we are giving our answers is by the way that we are living our lives. Okay, that's a huge one. Stop searching for the meaning of life, because you are already the one who's being asked that question, and you're answering it yourself by the way that you are showing up in your life. All right, so this is another huge game changer. Definitely recommend that you read this as well. But the next book on my list is titled Way of the Superior Man by Deida. Now, this is a book that was recommended to me by a lot of men before I actually picked it up. But when I picked it up, I didn't get into it, okay? I didn't get into it, but then it was recommended again by a bunch of other people that I ended up meeting. Then I picked it up again, but then I couldn't follow through it. I just couldn't connect. I couldn't resonate with what he was saying. And then a couple of years went by again, and then when it was recommended again, I was like, okay, there has to be something. Like, so many people can't be wrong about something. And then the third time where I actually picked it up, it completely changed the game for me. I viewed it from a completely different lens, and I guess I was coming at it from a completely different perspective, which allowed me to really relish in the wisdom that was being shared in this book. Okay, so basically it is the dance between masculine and feminine polarity, understanding what femininity really is. It's not about male and female, it's about masculine and feminine energies, how they manifest in our lives, what the masculine drive is, what it means to live on purpose, what it means to live with your lips pressed against your fears, and really relishing in the never-ending dance of this masculine and feminine polarity. All right, this is a book which every man must read. It's essential reading for you if you are serious on this development journey on becoming the most capable version of yourself. Okay, so it's really about purpose, about masculinity, about femininity, how they show up in our lives, and how we can dance with them effectively, how we can deal with them effectively, and how we can maintain our relationships with these energies in harmony. Okay, now the next book on this list is a very, very deep and profound book. It's titled Atlas Shrugged by Ayn Rand. Okay, it's fiction. It's the first fiction book on this list. I don't read much fiction, but Atlas Shrugged is a book which I've read every single year for the last 4 years of my life. It's about this thick, and every single year I start my year by starting, like, before I go to sleep, I read this book, and it usually takes a couple of months to get through it in completion. But it's great because it's Ayn Rand's projection of what an ideal man is. All right, like I was like in Way of the Superior Man, they talk about how the masculine way to show up is really on purpose. Purpose is the priority of the masculine, and in Atlas Shrugged, it's all about these bunch of characters that show up with purpose on every single moment of their lives. All right, there's all these external circumstances, there's these external situations that are trying to pull them down, but the way they show up, the way they respond to that is like the idealization of what it means to be a man. So this is an essential reading for anyone. It's great. There's a great storyline as well. And Fountainhead by Ayn Rand is another book which is not number 5 on this list, but it is something that has a similar, you can say, script to Atlas Shrugged. It's like a similar vibe to it. There's like a man on his purpose with a lot of stimulus that's trying to hold him down, but it's like different sceneries, it's a different plot line. I read both of these books, they're great. Ayn Rand is definitely someone that I've gleaned a lot of wisdom from and learned a lot from, the way that she portrays her characters on what it means to be a man. So this is another book that I definitely recommend that you check out. Okay, now the next book on this list is titled Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. Now you've seen probably some other videos of mine about Stoicism, but Stoicism has been a huge game changer for me in terms of adopting the philosophy of separating the things that are within my control and narrowing my focus down on only the things that are within my control. Okay, so separating between what is within and without my control, at the end of the day it comes down to your thoughts and your behaviors that are within your control. And Meditations of Marcus Aurelius are basically his war journal that he wrote to himself while he was battling the Germanic tribes, and how he was defending his empire during its height. He was emperor of Rome, he was a philosopher king, he relished in the teachings of the ones who came before him, and these are the notes which he wrote it to himself, and we are really blessed to have the access to them. Okay, so definitely check out Meditations by Marcus Aurelius as well. And the next book on this list is titled The Go-Giver. I don't know who the author is, I can link out to it below, but this is another huge one, and it really gets to the root of what the secret to life is. What is the secret to getting anything that you want? The secret to getting anything you want is to help enough other people get what they want. Okay, that's what Zig Ziglar said. And in this book, it's not by Zig Ziglar, but it encapsulates this idea so well. All right, it's based on this fable, on this guy who's really struggling to get what he wants out of life. He's struggling to meet his quota in his job, struggling to make enough money. Then he comes across this mentor who really gives him the laws of success and allows him to adopt this new mentality, which allows him to then step things up to a completely new level. I made an entire different video on this as well. I'll link out to a bunch of these videos below because I've already made summaries of them, of these different books, but I just wanted to compile this list over here for you so that you can start your 2020 year off right, without getting distracted by dogs in the background, without getting distracted with all of these stimulus in the background, but getting close and narrowing down on the habits that allow you to expand your awareness, to expand your abilities, to expand your capabilities, to expand who you are at the very core. Okay, so Go Giver is another great book that can help you on that path as well. Now, the final book that I would recommend every man read is Total Recall by Arnold Schwarzenegger. Okay, this is a great book. You will start on the first page, you'll get hooked, and you'll be unable to put it down. Every chapter is like a page flipper because he grabs you, he hooks you in, and it's impossible to put it down. You just go through it really fast, and it's such a great, inspiring story because this dude Arnold Schwarzenegger from Austria, post World War II, where he literally doesn't have a pot to piss in. He's like pissing like he's taking his shit out in the field or some shit, because the post World War II Austria is like so driven to the ground on how he went to America without knowing a word of English, without knowing anyone, with just like one duffel bag, and how he started and where he is. It like gives a humanizing effect on his journey. Like right now we see this guy who has achieved the top of every field that he has entered, but where was he before he became Arnold Schwarzenegger? Who was Arnold before he was Arnold? Right? That's what the story does. It puts a humanizing effect on him, and it really gives you the mindset that if one person can do it, another person can do it. Because what we see in public, when we see this person in public, what we don't see is what he struggled for in private. Okay, he has gone through so much, and he really puts it all out there for us to really take in, to learn from him. And it's just entertaining as well. That's like a cherry on top. But just to learn from this man who has achieved the top of every field that he has entered, who has gone forward in the way of any obstacle that he has faced, and how you can do it as well by learning about where he started and where he is right now. It's really an inspiring story, so I definitely recommend you check that out as well. Okay, so those are the 7 books that I have been going back to again and again and again. Like I said, this is not a definitive list. Like once you read these books, it will expand your awareness to even dive deeper into other teachings. Like right now I'm diving deeper into a lot of esoteric stuff, on spiritual stuff, but these are like the fundamentals which really set a solid foundation for the rest to be built upon. Okay, so I definitely recommend you check them out. I'll link out to everything below, a bunch of the videos I made on these different books. You can check out that below. But with all that being said, if you like this video, click a bunch of the buttons below, and if you want to learn more about what I have to offer, what I help guys with, definitely click the link below on the Awaken Your Alpha program, which will give you more details. And if you resonate with that, you can get a call with me, get on a call with me, and talk for 5 minutes to ensure that we are the best fit moving forward. Okay, so this has been Saleem. I hope this has been valuable for you, and I'll see you in the next video.